And today I got audio proof of her saying, I told Gypsy to lie to her parole officer. And so this is why, Brianna, people don't want to be your friend. She is spending all of this time right now trying to smear her friends that have defected from her and cut ties with her and saying that they're the problem, when she's the one that's been the problem the whole time. When she's the one that's been gaslighting them, lying to them, and then they've had to lie for her. So her friend all of these months has known that they lied publicly to protect Gypsy.
But I also just want to do what I'm supposed to on parole. I don't understand why I have to be different. I don't understand what makes me different. Because to me, I'm just another average bear. And I guess I'm getting a huge culture shock. So, at the end of the day, I will still do whatever it takes to make me free. I do not feel free right now. I feel like I am in a different form of prison.
Gypsy-Rose Blanchard is under immense pressure as mounting evidence about her parole violation continues to come to light. This is not speculation, it's hard facts, confirmed through detailed reporting from sources within her inner circle, brought forward by content creators like Kitty Joy, who have meticulously laid bare the extent of her actions. Gypsy is reportedly terrified, and for good reason. The public now has access to a growing list of allegations against her, and the question remains, has she squandered the second chance she was given after being released from prison? Gypsy, who was released in 2023 on parole after serving time for her role in the murder of her mother, Didi Blanchard, was supposed to use this opportunity to rebuild her life under the watchful eye of the justice system. Parole conditions in Louisiana are not just suggestions. They are strict rules designed to monitor rehabilitative progress and ensure compliance with the law. For Gypsy, these conditions included no communication with felons, regular check-ins with her parole officer, and avoiding any behavior that could put her freedom at risk. Yet the allegations paint a starkly different picture. According to Kitty Joy's investigation, Gypsy has been repeatedly contacting inmates using her husband Ryan's account, a direct violation of her parole.
They said, so it only gives one side to the story. And she was wondering, like, can somebody go to my PO? Because they always send it off. She's like, what if something like this was to get me in trouble? And I was like, I don't think you can just get us sent back to jail over a text message. That's what I was talking about.
That's not what she was talking about at all. The very next day, Gypsy was going to meet with her parole officer to find out what was going to happen with this situation, because Gypsy was caught communicating with inmates in prison. So she said that I was going to turn her into prison, or someone was going to turn her into her PO. And she gaslit everyone to try to believe that it was my fault. Not that Bree is the one that told her to lie. And people believed Bree. And today I got audio proof of her saying, I told Gypsy to lie to her parole officer. And so this is why, Brianna, people don't want to be your friend. She is spending all of this time right now trying to smear her friends that have defected from her and cut ties with her and saying that they're the problem, when she's the one that's been the problem the whole time. When she's the one that's been gaslighting them, lying to them, and then they've had to lie for her.
The revelations also detail her attempts to conceal the misconduct, with evidence pointing at her confidant Bree advising her to lie to her parole officer, a move that could have catastrophic consequences. Communications with felons, especially while on parole, is strictly prohibited under Louisiana law, and violating this condition alone can result in immediate revocation of parole, leading to incarceration. The situation becomes even more troubling when considering her behavior since her release. Gypsy has not only been accused of violating her parole, but also fostering a toxic environment around her. Through her connections, she has been linked to targeted harassment of critics, gaslighting, and smear campaigns designed to deflect attention from her actions. Instead of demonstrating growth or accountability, Gypsy appears to have fallen back into patterns of manipulation enabled by those closest to her.
So today, I was given the full live that she did, that Bree has taken off of her YouTube channel, but I was also given all of the recordings and voice memos of Bree telling the friend what she told Gypsy to do, the lie she told to tell her, and then what she said on live right after she spoke to her friend. So she spoke to her friend and said, I told Gypsy to lie. I haven't shared any of this yet, okay? This is from July. But I'm sharing this because I want people to understand, like, I've been saying for months that the Blanchards know what's happening behind the scene. They know that Gypsy's a mess. They know that she's violating parole. They know what she's doing is wrong. But then publicly, they all go on their platforms and fucking lie for her. They all go online. So absolutely nothing you hear out of Bree's mouth can be trusted because she's lying.
This story is not just about breaking the rules, it's about the ripple effect of those actions on her life and the people around her. Today, we delve into the details of Gypsy's post-prison life, the specific parole violations she has been accused of, and the broader implications of her behavior. We will explore the laws she has potentially broken under Louisiana's justice system and examine the role of her inner circle in enabling and covering up these violations. This is a story of deception, defiance, and the consequences of ignoring a second chance. Let's start by laying out the facts. Katie Joy has been a critical voice in uncovering the ongoing drama surrounding gypsy-rose Blanchard. With close connections to the Blanchard family and access to sources on the inside, she is uniquely positioned to reveal details the public wouldn't otherwise know. Kitty's work has painted a stark contrast to the public image Gypsy has tried to maintain since her release from prison.
And Bree actually told Gypsy to lie to her parole officer.
Oh, God.
And she posted a video she was like live on YouTube, and Gypsy called her on the phone, and she said, I would just lie to your parole officer. And trying to tell her how to get out of this because Gypsy was communicating with inmates. And it was months ago, though, but I have stuff you haven't heard yet, as seen on TV. So that's what we're listening to.
For those unfamiliar, Gypsy's parole conditions were crystal clear. After serving time for her role in the murder of her mother, she was released on strict terms. This included prohibitions on contacting other felons or engaging in behavior that might compromise her reintegration into society.
This was supposed to be a good day, and I want to have a good day with everybody else too. But I also just want to do what I'm supposed to on parole. I don't understand why I have to be different. I don't understand what makes me different. Because to me, I'm just another average bear. And I guess I'm getting a huge culture shock. So, at the end of the day, I will still do whatever it takes to make me free. I do not feel free right now. I feel like I am in a different form of prison.
Parole isn't just a formality, it's a way to monitor and guide individuals as they transition back into the community. Any violations, no matter how small, could result in severe consequences, including being sent back to prison. This brings us to Kitty Joy's first major revelation. Through her insider sources, she uncovered that Gypsy had been in contact with inmates, including her former girlfriend Amelia. Using her husband Ryan's account, Gypsy had allegedly circumvented the rules, maintaining relationships with individuals she was explicitly forbidden from contacting.
She was using her husband Ryan's account to talk to inmates. And she flashed a bartender, right? And this was all during the time that Zora came out and basically said that Gypsy was getting in trouble with her parole. And it was the same time that I told you that Christy was worried that Gypsy was going to get violated and sent back to prison. And this was the same time that this is the last time I had contact with them because they lied to me about what happened. They said it was a single message from someone on TikTok, but that's not what happened. Gypsy was using Ryan's account to talk to Amelia and 2 other friends in prison. And Bree was trying to tell her she should lie to her parole officer about this. And then this was the same time that they were going live and saying that we were liars, okay?
This isn't a minor infraction. Communicating with incarcerated individuals directly violates parole terms. It demonstrates not just a willingness to bend the rules, but an active effort to deceive the system designed to hold her accountable. Kitty's sources confirm that this wasn't a one-time incident, but part of a larger pattern of risky and defiant behavior. Kitty Joy's most explosive piece of evidence comes from a video that should have never seen the light of day. Bree, one of Gypsy's closest confidants, accidentally uploaded a video to her YouTube channel. In this recording, Bree can be heard advising Gypsy on how to handle her parole officer. But instead of encouraging honesty and accountability, Bree took a very different approach. She suggested lying. The video captured Bree reassuring Gypsy that a text message or interaction couldn't necessarily be used as evidence to send her back to prison. Bree went further, introducing the idea of spoofing, a tactic where someone could allegedly fake messages to make them appear as though they were coming from another person's phone.
Sent these messages at 2:13 in the morning to one of her friends to help her get out of this situation, to help her figure out with a lie to tell people. And then sent a bunch of voice memos that were like 10 minutes long total, asking for help on what to do. How do we get out of this? What should we say? And so what they came up with was blame Katie. Blame the content creators that are unjustly reporting her to the parole officer. Don't blame me for telling her to lie, and don't blame Gypsy for actually violating her parole.
This wasn't just casual advice. It was a clear attempt to help Gypsy manipulate her parole officer and avoid consequences of her actions. Kitty Joy didn't just stop at pointing out what was said. She provided context for why this was so significant. At this time of the conversation, Gypsy was under scrutiny for her communications with Amelia and other inmates. Her parole officer had already flagged this behavior as a potential violation, meaning Gypsy was at risk of serious repercussions. Bree's advice, rather than helping Gypsy take responsibility and correct course, was a deliberate attempt to mislead the system. What makes...
No, her parole is over in June, and that's irrelevant. Then Bree goes on live, and she lies about what happens, and she smears me during this. And she tries to gaslight everyone into believing that I'm lying, that Zora's lying, that what we heard was a lie.
I mean, yeah, it's a shitty thing to give bad advice when it happens. What affect Gypsy is if she took the bad advice. But the thing was, it was not advice about her PO. That's not what it was about.
Can someone tell me what happened? Because I don't even...
So she went live and flat out said it was not advice about her PO. It was not advice for her PO. Her parole has nothing to do with 2 years. It has to do with the fact that her whole sentence is 10 years. That's it. There was no additional supervision beyond that. Donna, listen, we're not talking about if parole did anything. We're talking about what they did to cover this up. Please help me. Someone. Oh my God, this person. She went on live and said, I didn't tell her to lie to her parole.
What happened with that?
Oh, you seen the video?
No, I haven't seen it. I was on vacation. I didn't see it. Oh, yeah. But she's like, where you been?
Well, the video is me, and I'm like talking to Gypsy, and I'm like, she was saying something I forgot. I was like, well, I don't think just a text message could get you sent to jail, and or something like that. And they're like, and plus, I was like, they have people that literally like you can like there's these apps that can like you send text messages from your number, like and they'll say it's from your number. And she was like, wow. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, and then what I said was, I was like, I said I would lie. What I was talking about, I'm not going to go over this for long, but what I was talking about was, say for instance, people like KJ. I'm gonna give an example. She has put out so many messages from them, and it's spoofing. It's a real thing. Like it's spoofing. It's a real thing.
Yeah. Whenever you text somebody like from one of those apps, it's called being spoofed. They spoof your number. My son.
Oh, I was saying she just said, "Why were you so spoofed?" It's not like she said spoofed. She said spoofed. But anyway, so I was explaining to her like these because people are constantly asking her questions, and like KJ, for instance, I was like, I would just lie. Like you don't have to tell everybody your business, because what happens is they betray her and they turn around and they put all these text messages out, and then they'll like delete what they said or cover.
This even more damning is Bree's behavior after the video's accidental upload. For 3 days, the video remained public on her channel, despite being fully aware of its contents. Bree didn't take it down. Whether this was due to arrogance, negligence, or a belief that no one would notice, the result was the same. The video was discovered, clipped, and shared by TikTok creators, bringing the entire situation into the public eye. Kitty Joy used this evidence to show a pattern not just of poor decisions, but of deliberate attempts to skirt accountability.
So Bree knew that this video was up on her channel. She knew in the first part of the video, she was on the phone. She was on the phone with Gypsy telling her to lie to her parole officer. She leaves a voice memo from her friend and is like, fuck, this is on my video. I haven't privated it because everyone, like nobody has really watched the video. I don't know how to edit it out. Bree knew before anyone saw this that this was on her page. And she kept it up. She didn't take it down. And then not long after she did that, a content creator here on TikTok clipped it and put it out. And Bree started panicking.
This wasn't a simple mistake or misunderstanding. This was a calculated effort to protect Gypsy from facing the consequences of her parole violations. And for anyone familiar with parole system, the implications couldn't be more serious. The question is, why would someone who has already been given a second chance take such a reckless risk? Was Gypsy relying too heavily on the loyalty of her inner circle, or did she believe that the system wouldn't hold her accountable? Either way, the evidence is clear. This was more than just bad advice. It was an effort to undermine the very conditions that allowed her to remain free. When the video surfaced, Bree and Gypsy's camp responded swiftly, but not with transparency. Instead, they launched into a campaign of cover-ups and deflection, focusing on controlling the narrative rather than addressing the core issue. But the deflection didn't stop there. Bree attempted to discredit Kitty Joy and other creators, accusing them of fabricating the situation entirely. One tactic she used was blaming spoofing app, suggesting that any messages or evidence could have been fake. This explanation not only lacked credibility but also highlighted a desperate attempt to avoid accountability.
Say, for instance, people like KJ, I'm gonna give an example. She has put out so many messages from them, and it's spoofing, it's a real thing. Like, it's spoofing, it's a real thing.
Yeah, whenever you text somebody, like from one of those apps, it's called being spoofed. They spoof your number. My psycho.
I thought you saying she just said, "Why were you so spoofed?" It sounded like she said spoofed, but she said spoofed. But anyway, so I was explaining to her, like, these, because people were constantly asking her questions, and like KJ, for instance, I was like, I would just lie, like, you don't have to tell everybody your business, because what happens is they betray her, and they turn around, and they put all these text messages out, and then they'll like delete what they said or cover.
Okay, so what she did was she told Gypsy to lie to her parole officer. And then to deflect the fact that she told Gypsy to lie to her parole officer, she made up a lie in a story and said that KJ, who is me, Katie, is always putting out messages, and you don't have to tell Katie anything. You don't have to tell anyone of these business, anyone your business. And then all of her people betray her trust by posting all this information about Gypsy.
She exposed even more voice memos of Bree that revealed her internal panic. In these recordings, Bree admitted to being deeply concerned about how the video could be perceived. Yet her focus wasn't on the potential legal consequences for Gypsy. Instead, it was on how to protect herself and Gypsy's public image. The memos also showed Bree strategizing with her circle, asking how they could spin the narrative. This wasn't a moment of remorse or reflection. It was a calculated effort to mislead the public. Bree even floated ideas to blame content creators like Kitty Joy for the fallout, painting them as malicious actors spreading lies.
Blame the content creators that are unjustly reporting her to the parole officer. Don't blame me for telling her to lie, and don't blame Gypsy for actually violating her parole. So every single time, and I've been saying this for months, every time they point the finger at someone else, you know they're hiding something. And I don't think Gypsy has any clue that she told this friend on the phone what happened.
Talking about her, if she deleted it or not. If it's still down, take a screenshot of it, because someone else is type shit. I know. I'm so fucking mad at myself. I wasn't even thinking, like, I was not even fucking thinking.
Does that sound like someone that just told Gypsy to lie about Katie in a message that Katie sent and put out on her Facebook, like, or my Instagram? Why would she be so mad at herself if it had anything to do with me?
And let's not forget the role of Gypsy's inner circle. Instead of urging Gypsy to come clean, they actively participated in the cover-up. Family members and supporters rallied to discredit anyone who dared to question Gypsy's behavior. This isn't just troubling, it's a deliberate effort to enable behavior that violates the trust of the justice system. What's striking is the lack of concern for the actual violation. The entire focus of the cover-up was to shift public attention and avoid scrutiny, not to address the root issue of Gypsy's parole conditions.
And people believed Bree. And today I got audio proof of her saying, I told Gypsy to lie to her parole officer. And so this is why, Brianna, people don't want to be your friend. She is spending all of this time right now trying to smear her friends that have defected from her and cut ties with her and saying that they're the problem, when she's the one that's been the problem the whole time. When she's the one that's been gaslighting them, lying to them, and then they've had to lie for her. So her friend all of these months has known that they lied publicly to protect Gypsy. They've known for months that Gypsy's friends and family are enabling her and helping her avoid prison by lying to the parole officer and conspiring with her. Any other inmate that was on parole would have gone to prison for this. They would have gone back. Because she was communicating with 3 other felons in prison, and that was a specific stipulation of her parole, that she have no contact with any of her friends in prison.
These actions, combined with the complicity of Gypsy's camp, raise serious questions about her priorities. Gypsy's alleged parole violation is not a trivial matter. Communicating with inmates is a direct violation of her parole conditions, and it's a serious offense. Parole is granted with strict guidelines to ensure that individuals reintegrate into society responsibly. When someone like Gypsy chooses to disregard those guidelines, it undermines the entire purpose of parole. Kitty also uncovered another layer to the story: Gypsy's behavior at the time of these violations. There are reports of her getting drunk with friends and even flashing a bartender. While these actions may not directly violate her parole, they paint a picture of someone who isn't taking her second chance seriously. It's as if Gypsy believes she's above the rules, a dangerous mindset for anyone on parole. But Gypsy didn't act alone. Her family and supporters actively helped her hide these violations. Kitty revealed the members of Gypsy's camp were well aware of her actions and took steps to deflect the attention. For instance, they organized live streams to distract the public and discredit critics. These aren't the actions of people trying to help someone rehabilitate. They are the actions of enablers. Legally, the implications are severe. Communicating with inmates is a direct breach of parole. And for most individuals, this would result in immediate consequences, including a potential return to prison. Yet Gypsy's camp seems more concerned with protecting her reputation than addressing the breach. Morally, it's even more troubling. Gypsy's story captivated the world because it was supposed to be about redemption, a chance to rebuild life after enduring unimaginable trauma. But actions like these make it clear that she's squandering the opportunity. Instead of proving she's ready to integrate into society, she's showing a disregard for the rules and lack of accountability. Kitty's findings also expose a broader issue: the role of enablers in perpetuating this behavior. Gypsy's family and friends aren't just failing to hold her accountable, they are actively helping her navigate around the rules. This isn't support, it's complicity. And at the end of the day, parole is a privilege, not a right. Gypsy was given a second chance, but her actions raise serious questions about whether she's ready to take that opportunity seriously. And if the justice system doesn't enforce the rules, it's a dangerous precedent for others on parole. Gypsy-Rose Blanchard is no longer the victim we once knew. Her actions now paint a picture of someone willing to bend the rules, even at the risk of her freedom. And while her family and friends may try to protect her, the evidence speaks for itself. At the end of the day, parole is about trust. It's about proving that you have learned from the past. But Gypsy's actions tell a different story, one that raises serious questions about whether she's ready to embrace the second chance she's been given. Now, it's your turn. What do you think about this situation? Do you believe Gypsy should face consequences for these violations? Do you think the blame lies elsewhere? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives like this one. Until next time, remember, accountability matters, and the truth always finds a way out.